Friends, before we get started, I just want to say thank you for helping us hit 500 subs. We hit that just earlier today. Super happy. So yeah, thank you to everybody who subbed. And yeah, let's talk about today's video, which, I wanted to discuss a question that a sub had for us. And that is why exactly we as players feel like we're getting less content and how Bungie could address it. Now, unlike yesterday's video, here this individual, Broderick Foster, I'm gonna throw you out there again. He leaves a very long comment. I love reading these long comments, so leave long comments, right? But he goes into detail. Let me put it up on screen here for y'all so that y'all can kind of read it as well. But he asked me for my opinion on this this topic here as to why it feels like we're getting less content, more content, blah blah blah. There you can see the YouTube studio, but let me make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to cut out my face for a second so I can make it bigger so y'all can see it. There we go. Right? And it's this question right here. Why exactly we feel like we're getting less content, how Bungie could address it. I'm going to paraphrase a lot of what he says here, so that there's not this massive amount of confusion. But basically, he says that, Destiny has limited resources, limited developers, stuff like that. They're also making 2 other games. So of course their team is spread out, right? They're working on different topics and stuff like that. So it's obvious that that's one of the reasons why it feels like, there's not as much effort being put into Bungie. But he says, let's say there's 50 people working on a game. This is his analogy here. 50 people working on a game. You have 5 people putting work on the story, 10 people doing the salvage, and making that stuff work, 10 people on deep dives, 5 people on weapons, 10 people building on the dungeon, 5 people on fishing, and 5 people balancing everything else. And he actually brings up a very good point here in terms of development, because developers are limited, right? If you have this split of everything right here, 50 devs divided up like this, if you want, and he goes in his post, he says this, he said, if you want more, say, weapons, for example, if you want more weapons, you're going to have to take some developers away from another aspect of the game. I don't disagree with this at all. This is 100% correct. It's only logical that devs are limited at Bungie. Like, they can't just go out and hire more developers to help make more content. Like, let's see, the story's content sucks, so let's make the story better. Okay, well, we'll make the story better, but that's going to cause, the Sandbox team to suffer, for example, right? So he does make a good point, but Broderick, where I do have to disagree is whenever he says, I shouldn't say disagree, but kind of split from what it is, that you're bringing up here. The reason why we feel like we're getting less content is I don't think it's that we're getting less content. Right, I think it's more so that we are getting, we are getting less content. If you look at like seasonal stories, like the seasonal story mission, like it had some great lore, but that was it. Like, I mean, take this season compared to, like, let's just say 5 seasons ago, 5 seasons ago, I don't even remember which season it was, but 5 seasons ago, we had a long storyline that would literally last like 8 weeks. Like, this week it's week 6 and it's over. Not only that, but the storyline consisted of multiple steps. Okay, it was like, okay, go do, for example, if we were comparing old season to new season, go do salvage, go do a deep dive, go do this, and yeah, like it's errand running essentially, and it's not fun. And then go actually do a mission, right? But this time around, it didn't feel like, to me, like we got very much. And maybe it's because the missions were short. But like, it was like, okay, like I'm going to do the weekly mission here, and 10 minutes later it's done. And I'm like, wait, that was it? Like, that was the whole mission? I have to wait till next week now? And in previous seasons, it felt like, again, and this is just my personal opinion here, it felt like the season or the weekly stories took longer to complete. Right. And so that's kind of one of the areas where, I think that we're feeling like there's less content. It's not that, there's a lack of a storyline. It's the lack of a storyline that really engages the player. Now, the lore, like I said, lore is fantastic. Some of the cutscenes we got this season were fantastic. If you haven't done them, go do them. I'm not going to spoil the cutscenes here. But also, this season is really, really, it sucks sucks for Bungie, because for whatever reason, Bungie opted to use seasonal weapons from season, what was it, season 7, season of the Gambit Prime. I can't remember the name of it, but they reused all these weapons. Not only that, but we didn't just get those weapons back, because here's the thing, I would be totally okay if we got back the Gambit weapons and then some new weapons, but we got back Gambit weapons and then we got back some reskinned Gambit weapons. And I think that's where a lot of people are feeling like we're getting less content and there's less effort being put forward. Like, it's not like these weapons are bad. You know, Outlast, really good. I'm really enjoying Different Times, the pulse rifle. You know, I know a lot of people have said some great things about Rapacious Appetite, which is the submachine gun, but it's taking a step back and looking at like how much work was actually put into designing these weapons for the original season of the Gambit weapons, you know, that are still have the same names, Outlast, Bug Out Bag, stuff like that. Very, very little effort, right? Because they were already in the game. Like, you added new perks, sure, but I mean, honestly, how difficult is it to add new perks? How difficult is it to say, hey, here's all the perks we can have, let's put these perks on this weapon, right? I really don't think it's that difficult to do. Now, of course, you know, when it comes to actually, you know, doing the coding and stuff, that could be a different story, right? But it's more so the fact that we're not getting new weapons. Like, we're not getting refreshing looking weapons, because that's what Destiny's all about, is looks. You know, if we got, for example, I'm trying to think of the last season where we had some really nice looking weapons, and I think it was, oh gosh, a couple seasons ago. I can't remember what season. I feel like I have them in my head, but yeah. Anyways, look, we're not going to dwell into that. But in past seasons, we have gotten new weapons that have never been seen before. Even last season, which was the Queen thing season, those weapons were kind of reskinned, but they were kind of new looking too. So it's like, okay, it's not too bad. But I mean, these weapons that we got this season are complete and utter reskins. Okay, they just have a taken like theme / look to them. That, to me, is where a lot of people are getting that we are getting less content. You know, plus, like, if you look at, especially, and I think what people are doing is they are making comparisons to like Forsaken. You know, they are making comparisons to what is it, like older Destiny 2 content, right? And here's the thing, we had a video the other day talking about why we will never get a Forsaken level expansion again, right? Because Forsaken was literally Bungie's last ditch effort to save Destiny 2. Like, they had to go big or go home. Now with so many players, they're not going to have something that big ever. Like, they're not. But I don't think it's unreasonable to expect more, especially because in the past we have got more. And again, it's not so much about the, you know, how much new stuff that we have. You know, it's the quality of that stuff. And I think that's really where players feel like they're getting less. For example, take Menagerie versus Salvage. Which was better? The answer, I think, to anybody who played Menagerie is 100% the Menagerie. Because the Menagerie was a very fun, engaging, very, very high, high enemy density, very interesting, I guess kind of interesting location, you know, but Titan's kind of interesting as well. But like, I think it was mainly the enemy density and the mechanics of it were so much better. Like in Salvage, which is also a 6-man activity, the enemy density it's not there. You know, the enemy density feels like, okay, like I'm playing and like there's like 3 thrall to kill. Like, unless you're sitting camping a doorway. But then again, camping a doorway isn't necessarily fun. And not only that, but in Salvage, many of the enemies are just like one shot. And like, it's not fun to just one shot over and over and over again. And I think that's one of the reasons why Deep Dives and the hard mode that it has was so well received, is because it actually makes content difficult and engaging, right? So again, to answer your question here, I think the reason people feel like they're getting less is because Bungie's not putting as much effort into previous stuff. Because like we just said, like it's not that we're actually getting less. And you know, Broderick goes into this comment here. I'll pull it up one more time so y'all can see it. You know, and he goes into detail because there we go. Make it really big for you. There you go. Like, he goes into, where was it? Kind of in this area right here, from like around here down to here. Like, he compares like what we got in the past versus what we get now. And yes, they are similar, but the quality of the stuff that we got back then was so much better. Like, think about the forges. The forge activity, very, very fun. Scourge of the Past, which I won't include the raid because we haven't gotten a raid. I think a raid is probably difficult to compare to yearly expansion. But an exotic quest, we do have an exotic quest coming this season, so we'll see how that is. Niobe Labs, Season of Drifter gives Gambit Prime, blah blah blah, all this stuff. There's extras, there's exotic stuff like that, and we're still getting all of that. But it's like, again, like take the Black Armory versus the Queen's Walk thing last season. Sorry, not last year, last season. Personally, I liked the Forges more. I did. Let me go ahead and hide that now. I like the Forges a lot more, and of course that's personal taste. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say like, oh, everybody liked the Forges more and that was everybody's favorite content, blah 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 blah. But again, I think that's what exactly people feel like we're getting. It's not that people feel like we're getting less as much as it is. It's not as quality as it once was. Okay, and because it's less, there's less quality behind it. It feels like there's less content. Why? Because, like I said, Menagerie versus Salvage. Menagerie would take longer. It was much more fulfilling with enemies and activities and stuff like that versus Deep Dives, where like if you've got 2 people on your team that are absolutely shredding through everything, it's going to be boring, and potentially I think it could go faster. I don't know for sure if it's faster, but I think that it could potentially be done faster, and that's where people are getting that idea from. Now, how could Bungie address this less content, so to speak? Let me make sure that's stuck there. No free promos on this channel. No, just kidding. It has where I live, and I don't want just the world knowing where I live. But how Bungie could address it, and it's simple. Just say what people are talking about. Literally get your community managers, like they used to do way back in the day, to read what people are complaining about, think about it, ask the team about it, and address those things. Have who the heck is the community manager now? I don't even know. We had Hippie for a short little bit. Then I think the person that did the last one was like Sam, and then Timon, and I don't know who the heck the community managers are, but have them come out and say, hey, we have talked to the team. We hear that you're feeling like you're getting less content. Give people a comparison. I know that that's probably like a almost like a rude thing to do, but like they've done it before. Give people a comparison from what we used to get, so to speak, and what's new, and show people that, hey, like we're getting about the same amount of content, but address the fact that the reason why it feels like less is because there's less, or ask the community. That's the biggest thing. That's one of the biggest things I miss about the old days of Destiny 1 is the community managers would straight up ask people. They'd be like, hey, you know what, we hear that you don't like blah 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 or this, that, and the other. What can we do to fix it? What do you not like about it? What can we do to fix it? They've got tons of content creators that can speak for the community. They got tons of people on the forums, on Reddit, on whatever media there is to talk about the issues that we have. That's the biggest thing that they could do to address it. And then okay, so what we're hearing here is that, number one, like 6v6 activity, salvage, not enough enemy density. Okay, we will up the enemy density. And I don't want Bungie to do this overreaction thing because, Spire the Watcher, people complain, oh, like it's not hard enough. And so they come out with Ghosts of the Deep, and oh my God, Ghosts of the Deep was insane, right? Ghosts of the Deep had some insane enemy density and some insane boss health pools. Don't have that kind of overreaction. I think that's not necessarily a good thing. But yeah, just reaching out to the community and saying, hey, like, what are the issues? Like, what is really wrong? And listen to what people have to say, because I know there's a lot of people out there that will say, well, it sucks, it's boring. Okay, that's not constructive. But there are a lot more people that love Destiny 2 that will say, hey, you know what? Salvage isn't fun because there's not a whole lot of enemies. The enemies spawn in really slow waves. Like when we're out there, like they'll spawn like 10 of them at once, but one grenade will clear them out, or one super will clear them out, and then it takes, another 20 seconds for them to spawn. So, that's one of the issues. Okay, we'll go in, we'll fix that. Bungie says, we'll go in, we'll fix that. So then they up the spawn rates, so they're constantly spawning over and over and over again. Because that was one of the things about the Menagerie that made it feel good. Enemies kept flowing in. Okay, and I'm picking on salvage right now just because that's, in my opinion, one of the least entertaining activities of the season. But yeah, I think that's the best way that Bungie could address it, honestly. And yeah, that's kind of all I can really say about that. Yeah, let me know your thoughts though in the comments about this whole discussion we've had. We've talked about a lot here. Like I said, I think Broderick is right. You have a limited number of devs working on a limited number of things. Like if you take from one, you know, if you want more of one, you're gonna have to take from another. It makes sense, but I think that we're you know, I think that there's a way to balance things a little bit better. But yeah, I want to know your thoughts. Shout out once again to Broderick Foster. Thank you, man, for the comment. Yeah, thanks again, guys, for 500 subs. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more daily Destiny content. And of course, watch the video that you see on the end screen now, because for whatever reason, YouTube thinks you will like it. That's it for me, and I'll catch you on the next one.